You know, we spend pretty much our entire lives experiencing the world from right behind our own eyes. We feel like these distinct, separate individuals. But what if that's only part of the story? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty profound shift in perspective, the idea of collective consciousness, where the self doesn't just end at your skin. And this really gets to the heart of it all. This one idea from our source material completely challenges that narrative of the lonely, solitary journey. It suggests that the real path, the path to deeper understanding, is fundamentally a shared one. It's a powerful hook, so let's see where it takes us. So, this brings us to a really fundamental question about who we are. Are we just these isolated islands kind of floating around on our own? Or are we actually threads woven into a much, much larger tapestry? And here you can really see those two competing ideas side by side. On one hand, you've got the soul as a solitary island, adrift all by itself. But on the other hand, you have this beautiful metaphor of the soul as a single thread, absolutely essential to this vast, shimmering tapestry. We're about to explore what it feels like to go from one of those perspectives to the other. Okay, to bring this out of the realm of abstract ideas, our source grounds us in a real story. It's an account of four people who gathered not just to meditate, but to very intentionally create a shared collective experience. So let's try to picture the scene. The group came together in this serene upper chamber, a space that was deliberately set apart from all the noise and rush of the everyday world. And the whole atmosphere is described as just ethereal. You've got this soft amber light filtering through these delicate curtains, just bathing the entire room in a feeling of warmth and real peace. Right at the heart of their circle, there was a crystalline bowl of water, and it reflected candlelight, which the source describes as distant constellations brought down to earth. See, every single detail here was intentional, creating a kind of sacred geometry for the experience that was about to unfold. And here it is. This is the crucial point, spoken by their guide, Eric. He sets the intention right away. This is not just four people sitting in a room. The goal, he says, is to consciously build a collective energy field, a shared space of awareness that is way greater than the sum of its parts. So how did this field even begin to form? I mean, this is where the account gets really fascinating. How does a theoretical concept like this actually show up in the real world? Well, according to the story, the air itself actually begins to shift. The narrator describes seeing visible geometric patterns, almost like golden threads, weaving this web between all the people in the circle. A real, tangible sign that something extraordinary was taking shape. And what's so interesting is the feeling it brought up. It wasn't something new or strange. It felt more like reconnecting with something ancient, a deep, primordial memory of tribes and ancestors who already understood that gathering this way amplifies intention and connection. All of this leads to the absolute peak of the experience. They've built the container, this collective field, and now it's time to journey inside of it together. So, how did they get there? Well, as you can see, it was a very structured process. Eric guided them inward, starting with physical sensations like breath and heartbeats, then moving to energy awareness in their hands, then systematically journeying up through the chakras, and finally, taking them beyond the individual into what he called cosmic memory. And as the meditation gets deeper, the narrator describes this really profound change, the very borders of their consciousness. They just became porous. The walls of the self started to get thin, to dissolve. Which leads to this core realization, a moment of just stunning clarity. My mind is not contained by my body. No, instead, it reached out, it stretched, and it blended, and it completely intertwined with the consciousness of everyone else in that sacred circle. And get this, it wasn't just the narrator feeling this. While their mind was expanding, another person in the group felt this overwhelming wave of unconditional love. A third had a sudden, profound realization about his entire life's purpose. Everyone was on their own journey, but all of their experiences were being amplified by this shared field. The guide later explained another one of his intentional choices, the music. It was ambient, with no words. Why? Well, as Eric says here, words activate our inner narrator, what he calls the babbler. The goal was to bypass that analytical part of the brain and just create a space where the mind could simply dissolve into pure experience. Okay, so we've explored this incredible story, But the source doesn't just want us to be observers here. It's inviting us to connect with this idea for ourselves. So, what's the actual principle at work here? The source material has this really cool term for it: spiritual physics. The idea is that our inner state, our thoughts, our intentions, it isn't just locked up inside our heads. It suggests we actually generate waves of consciousness that ripple out and interact with the world and with other people. And when a group aligns with a shared intention, those waves create a powerful resonance. Which, of course, leads us to this question. It's one thing to hear about it, but can we get even a small taste of this feeling of connection right here, right now? Let's just try a short exercise from the source. If you're in a place where you can, just follow along for a moment. Go ahead and close your eyes and take 3 slow, deep breaths. Now, just envision your heart opening gently, like a flower. With each breath, imagine you're weaving these threads of light, connecting you to everyone else listening, to everyone who's also seeking this connection. Just for a second, feel yourself as a part of this luminous network. And this really is the final crucial takeaway. The profound shift in consciousness that so many of us are looking for doesn't happen when we're isolated. It is not a solitary pursuit. It begins in resonance. It begins always together. That's a thought to carry with you long after this explainer is over.